Good day, everybody, and welcome to our next segment of Thought Leadership Conversations. And today we have with us Stephanie Barnes. And if you have not heard of her, I'm surprised. And I'm going to be asking you, where have you been? All right. Now, what's interesting for me, and first, Stephanie, before I even start, let me say happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Now, if I've looked up Stephanie Barnes, and something that really caught my eye was this, how she describes herself. And she calls herself the Chief Chaos Organizer at Entelechy, right? I've got it right this time, right?
Yes.
Chief Chaos Organizer. Oh my goodness, how do you even organize chaos? And that's got me thinking. And that's, Stephanie, it's going to be my first question for you, right?
Okay.
What
Very
do
carefully.
you do?
I have called myself that for a long time. I won't say I've been self-employed since 2003. I won't say it goes back exactly that far, but sometime, the first couple of years I settled on that as a title because I feel like that's what I do and did and still do. And that knowledge management is this balance between things that need to be organized, like documented knowledge in a repository, find it and searchable and all those things. But there's also the knowledge creation side and that knowing that there's stuff that just can't really be organized and shouldn't be organized and needs to be either left behind because it's not important, like menus in the cafeteria. We don't need to worry about trying to organize that, or there's the knowledge creation. That needs to be held loosely and given space to create, to come into being.
Awesome. I just need to tell you that normally, and for the people who are watching as well, normally when we do this, I'm on my official Acies Innovation backdrop with the word and with the Thought Leadership series. But it's kind of stressful today because I'm speaking to a lady with superpowers. And so I kind of thought, oh, right, man, I better kind of think of something creative myself, get myself into the kitchen. Having read the KM cookbook recently, I thought, okay, I'm going to go in the kitchen. Let's get myself cooking with Stephanie here. And you have two superpowers, and this is listed in the World Wide Web. Yeah, it's out there on the internet. That being the ability to use both sides of the brain. Now you're working twice as much as me when you're using both sides, as well as asking questions. So we are with us with a creative Mistro here, and I'm going to leave it over to Stephanie to give a short introduction on herself, and then I've got 3 questions. I'm going to pick both sides of your brain with and hear from you. So over to you, Stephanie.
Sure. So I've been doing knowledge management for, I've always forget this, since 1999, however long ago that was, 24 years?
Yep.
23 years?
2024.
And I have, you said off the start, where have I been? I have been quietly just doing knowledge management for 20 some odd years. And gradually making more noise about it because I think I have a different perspective on knowledge management and what we need in our organization. So I've been self-employed since 2003 and do a lot of work around strategy and picking the right technology to help organizations get the right technology to support their goals and objectives. And lately I've been talking a lot about creativity and the future of knowledge management and how this is the missing piece of the puzzle, really, and we need to be paying more attention to that.
I've read 3 of your papers now, under the umbrella of Radical KM, and I think there are some radical thoughts in there. Given your background of working with engineering, with finance, with Ed, I even saw that you've worked with mining industries, and I was like, wow, this is not data mining, this is like real mining.
This is
and I thought,
rock.
and the angle that you bring in, so the perspective that you bring in with us having to have a more creative hat, if I can use that, when we're talking about KM, really intrigued me into this conversation and into learning more about you. And as I read through that paper, and it said KM needs curiosity or learning. I read that phrase that you put in. Would you care to share more when you talk about why or how or what's the end product that we're looking at?
Well, knowledge management isn't just about going to a repository and finding, the document. And I would argue even that takes some curiosity to say, I need to go and look for a document to answer my questions.
Right.
You know, and so, but I think, yeah, in general, knowledge needs space. We need time to think about things and reflect and do some research. And the more things have changed, you know, I did my MBA that was 25 years ago. I graduated in 97. And, you know, and things have changed. There was an MBA in IT, but technology has changed. Some stuff is the same, you know, but the technology, I would say the people issues around technology are largely the same. The technology itself has changed, certainly, but yeah, it's always the people issues. And so we have tended to treat ourselves and each other like we're computers, like we're machines, whether we go back to, you know, Henry Ford and the production line with the Model T, or, you know, what we, you know, we're sometimes somehow want to treat ourselves like we're computers or machines, but humans aren't. And we need time to reflect and make, you know, think about things and ask questions and create that new knowledge, or go and just find the existing knowledge. And one of the things I've found with my Radical KM work is I started out, you know, from where I started on the KM side, and just kept pulling a thread. And the last couple of years, I've really made some more connections to, oh, somebody's already talking about some of this stuff, but they're in a different field than I am, you know. And so sometimes you don't even know the questions that you won't need to ask. You just keep asking, keep from where you are and pulling on that thread and see where it goes. You know, so Radical KM has taken me 10 years to get here. And it's like, and I just kept asking the questions and seeing where things went and seeing what came up. So, and now everybody loves it. I think there were a lot of people who thought I was crazy when I started talking about creativity in KM, you know, in 2011, but yeah, it's definitely an idea whose time has come.
Well, I think, you know, given the last 2 years and how, I guess the space has changed, how we are working and you know, in our conversation previously, you did tell me that you've been working from home since like a good 6-7 years now, or slightly more. 20 years. You've been working from home for 20 years now. Yeah. You know, 6-7 years is how long you've been in Berlin. That's right. Okay. Yes. So, you know, for the majority of us, we're still in organizations that were, you know, office bound. And then COVID happened and we were working from home or today in a hybrid environment. KM needs space and time. This is what you wrote in that paper as well. Given the current context of how the space has changed, even time has changed to a certain extent, because for the last 2 years we could juggle, you know, being at home, just like what I shared, being a mom, being a dad, or being the tutor, or being the housekeeper, the chef, right? All at the same time, you know. As well, I was running a laundromat at home as well, you know. So space and time and KM, you know, how do we juggle that? And what has, in your opinion, what has changed from pre-COVID to where we are today?
Well, and I think that's interesting because, you know, people really like working at home. I really like working at home. But it's been really nice to have a client that was here in Berlin and I could go in and meet them, you know, once or twice a month in person. And it definitely changed, you know, how we related to each other, for sure, rather than just seeing this little, you know, window on a screen.
Right.
You know, to see the whole person and get that sense of body language. So as much as I enjoy working from home, I think there's a lot of value to do, you know, to be in the office together, at least some of the time. But what we've done is, and I've talked to other organizations about this, is when you're in the office, make it, you know, be doing things that you can't do online or that don't transfer well to online. So that collaboration and that teamwork and doing some of like the creative activities, the arts-based interventions that I talk about with Radical KM, right, that really, you know, I can do them, most of them, I'm going to say online. I've adopted to be able to do them online and they work well. But being able to do them in person and, you know, be able to look over and see what somebody else is doing rather than ask them to hold it up to the screen, you know, for the camera. And there's a different feel to that, and it's different for relationship building. So with Radical KM stuff, I talk about one of the implementation streams is to create a studio in the office, take a meeting room or a series of meeting rooms and turn them into studios, so that when you're actually in the office, go into the studio and work together and collaborate together, and you draw on the whiteboard or use the art materials and things of Lego or whatever you stock in the studio space to do that brainstorming, to do that design work, to do that creative work that really takes on another layer when you're in a room together.
That's awesome. I like the idea of building that studio. I've been fortunate that in one of the offices here in Jakarta where I work, we actually designed our rooms to make sure that every wall could put a post-it, and every wall could, you could just, if you didn't have a post-it, you could just write on it. And then you can just wipe it away, and ideas were out there in the open, because you never know who's going to walk by and say, hey, you know what, I've done this before, and this is the issue I faced, and this is how I tackled it. Or, hey, that's a good idea, I can use it. And I think that aspect of, I mean, when I did it, I had a collaborative hat on. I didn't think I was creative, but now that I'm talking to you, I think I'm not too bad, eh?
Yeah, you're not too bad. Well, now you say that about the meeting rooms, and I think, yeah, I used to walk into my clients' meeting rooms, when we were on site, and see stuff on the board and go, oh, who was in here just before us? Because I need to talk to them about, the work I'm doing, and we would have to try and figure out who had been in there before. So that I could go and track them down, because it related to knowledge management, the knowledge management that I was doing somehow. So
well, that kind of brings me to my next question, and this concept of gamification. Or I'm going to read what you wrote here in the lines, and you said reintroducing creativity and playfulness. I mean, like what you just said. I love this. Now. That's being, you've just broken the entire, if we were in a serious meeting, or if we were in a creative block, you just got me to, everybody, let's focus on Stephanie now. And it looks like she's got a great idea.
It's a good way to get people's attention, because I'm an introvert, and I'm terrible at interrupting people even in person, I'm not good at it, but the whole virtual thing, I'm even less good. And so it's a good way to sort of get people's attention, to go, oh, Stephanie, you want to say something? So yeah, and it's knowledge management should be fun. If we want to create a knowledge sharing and knowledge creating culture, or knowledge management culture, it needs to be fun. We do the branding stuff, we do the communication stuff, we do the education stuff, but it needs to be fun. People need to be able to relax and enjoy and go, oh yeah, we're saving, we're creating world peace, but we can still have fun.
I was just sharing on visibility and the importance of it, today, especially post-COVID. And I think, putting a little clown nose on and having your cameras on and speaking about it and being present. Being present is an important part of being in KM. It shows involvement, be it whichever part of the hierarchy you are. It could be a vertical line or it could be a horizontal. But that sense of being involved translate to a sense of belonging. And therefore, the end of product then makes it feel like, hey, we belong. We pitched into this idea, or we pitched into this. I really love the way you've written your 3 papers. And I want to share with everyone who's listening up that, if you have not read it, please do. Reach out to Stephanie. She's very active on LinkedIn, and she's been speaking in a number of places this month and last month, I think.
I got 3 more conferences coming up in the next few months. I'm speaking again in 2 weeks. And I'm sorry to the conference organizers, I forget what the name of the conference is called, but it's out of the UK. And then I'm speaking to KM South Africa in August, and KM Brazil in September.
Awesome.
And I'm talking to the German project managers in August. That's in August too.
Fantastic. I keep, I don't know if you've noticed, but I keep looking left and right. Sometimes my eyes, at least, I'm looking at the paper that I've read. I'm reading, it's on my left, and I'm taking notes on my right. And so I'm going like this. And then the clown nose came on, and
you didn't know where to look.
So if I'm gonna let's try and sum this up because I'm having too much fun. Yeah, it's almost like I'm not working.
That's good.
You've got the creative juices flowing right now. Now,
So good.
if we have our KMs out there and they're listening in and just heading back to work, whether it's with their teams or on their own, if there was one takeaway that you wanted them to, I guess, take away from this conversation and start practicing right away, right? What would it be?
Just have fun, don't get locked into the thinking that we need to be efficient and effective. A lot of knowledge management is really about making the connections and asking the questions and being curious, and learning, especially now, when things are changing so much. So yeah, just relax and have some fun, ask some crazy questions, get the drawing stuff out and paint or draw and scribble and get your head, if you get stuck, there's quick little things you can do just to try and get unstuck and things. So yeah, be open-minded.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And that was our conversation with Stephanie Barnes. And her key takeaways, you heard it, guys. Get unstuck, bring out the drawing block, get the drawing start, and most important 3-letter word, have fun. Right? And KM is supposed to be about fun. And just because of that, what I'm going to do is, since we are in this setting, I'm going to ask you if you can look to your left and I will look to my right, and it will look like we're looking at each other. Oh, wait, I should be doing this. Hey, Stephanie. That's a mighty red nose you have. All right, then. Thank you so much, Stephanie. You have fun, all right?
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.